The Republican Party's disdain for the working class doesn't just come from not being raised right. It's a shorthand for the right wing's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics that at its core is about lying to and screwing over working and middle-class Americans so that they can steal from our health care, Social Security, and veterans to pay for tax cuts for the rich and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends. But there's a word for this kind of thing, Tucson. You know it? Corruption. I'll say it in Spanish. Corrupción. Que los corruptos vayan.
AOC's address at recent rally, a call for bold action against economic inequality. Introduction. On March 21, 2025, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez AOC, the prominent U.S. representative from New York, delivered a stirring speech at a rally in Arizona alongside Senator Bernie Sanders. This rally was part of Sanders' nationwide Stop Oligarchy tour, which aims to raise awareness about the growing economic inequality in the United States. AOC's remarks touched on several key issues, including the power of billionaires in politics, the failures of the Democratic Party, and the urgent need for progressive change. The rally garnered significant attention for its passionate critique of both Republican and Democratic leadership, calling for a more aggressive approach to tackling the systemic problems facing the country. Setting the stage, the Arizona rally and its purpose, the rally, which attracted thousands of attendees, was one of the major events of the Stop Oligarchy tour. Senator Bernie Sanders, known for his progressive stance on economic policies and social justice, was the primary figure behind the tour. His focus was on challenging the growing power of wealthy elites and advocating for policies that support working-class Americans. Ocasio-Cortez, widely regarded as one of the most dynamic and outspoken progressive voices in Congress, joined Sanders at the rally to lend her support and offer her own critique of the political status quo. As the youngest woman ever elected to the U.S. Congress, AOC has been a driving force for progressive policies such as Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and free college tuition. Her involvement in this rally was significant, as it highlighted the increasing collaboration between the left wing of the Democratic Party and the broader progressive movement, a critique of the political establishment, oligarchy, and corporate power. One of the central themes of AOC's speech was her critique of the growing influence of oligarchs, wealthy individuals, and corporate elites who, according to AOC, hold an undue amount of power over U.S. politics. Her remarks targeted high-profile figures such as former President Donald Trump and tech mogul Elon Musk. These figures, she argued, exemplify the unchecked power of billionaires who are able to manipulate the political system to further their own interests, often at the expense of ordinary Americans. AOC stated, Trump, Musk, and others like them are not just outliers. They represent the deepening reality of an oligarchy that has gripped our nation. She emphasized that the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few individuals has led to policies that benefit the ultra-wealthy while undermining the needs of the majority. According to AOC, this system perpetuates income inequality and prevents working-class Americans from accessing opportunities that should be available to all. The Democratic Party's failures, a call for reform. While AOC's speech was a critique of Republican leadership, it was also a sharp critique of the Democratic Party. A significant portion of her remarks was devoted to calling out the Democratic establishment for its failure to adequately address the needs of working-class Americans. According to AOC, the Democratic Party has often been too cautious and unwilling to confront powerful corporate interests. She pointed out that, despite Democrats' control of the White House and Congress, meaningful progress on issues like healthcare reform, climate change, and workers' rights has been slow and inadequate. Ocasio-Cortez expressed frustration with the Democratic Party's hesitance to embrace bold, progressive policies. We cannot continue to tiptoe around the issue, she said. It's time for the Democratic Party to stand up, fight back, and start delivering results for the people who sent us here. Her comment reflected a growing frustration within the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, which feels that the party's establishment leaders have often failed to prioritize policies that address systemic inequality. AOC and others argue that the party's moderate approach is not enough to address the urgency of the issues facing the country, particularly economic inequality, climate change, and healthcare access. AOC's personal connection to working-class struggles. AOC's remarks were not just an intellectual critique. they were also deeply personal. Drawing from her own background as a former bartender, she shared stories from her past to underscore her understanding of the struggles faced by working-class Americans. "I've been there," she said. "I know what it's like to struggle to make ends meet, to work multiple jobs just to pay rent, to wonder if you can afford healthcare when you get sick." Her personal connection to the issues she champions has been a defining feature of her political career. Unlike many politicians who come from privileged backgrounds, AOC's rise to political prominence was marked by her experiences as part of the working class. She shared how these experiences shaped her values and motivated her to fight for policies that benefit ordinary people. This authenticity resonated deeply with the crowd, many of whom saw her as a representative of their own struggles. The Green New Deal and climate justice. In addition to addressing economic inequality, AOC also used the rally to advocate for the Green New Deal, a comprehensive policy proposal aimed at addressing both climate change and economic inequality. The Green New Deal, introduced by AOC and Senator Ed Markey in 2019, calls for large-scale investments in renewable energy, infrastructure, and green jobs, while also addressing social justice issues such as income inequality, affordable housing, and healthcare. At the rally, AOC highlighted the urgent need for a transition to a sustainable economy. "The climate crisis is not some distant threat," she said. "It is happening now, and it is impacting the most vulnerable communities first. We need bold action, and we need it now." Her remarks on the Green New Deal were part of her broader argument that the fight for climate justice is inseparable from the fight for economic justice. By creating millions of new jobs in clean energy and sustainable industries, AOC argued that the Green New Deal would not only combat climate change, but also provide economic opportunities for working-class Americans. A rejection of cynical politics, the need for hope and change throughout her speech. AOC emphasized that the fight for a more just and equitable society is not about winning political battles for the sake of power but about real change. She rejected the notion that politics is a game of compromise and incrementalism. Instead, she called for a bold, transformative vision for the future of the United States. AOC addressed the cynicism that often surrounds political movements, saying, "People are tired of waiting for change that never comes. But we can't give up, we have to keep fighting. And we have to fight for something worth fighting for." She expressed her belief that a movement for economic and social justice can win, but only if people are willing to push beyond the status quo and demand real change. Her remarks echoed the themes of Bernie Sanders' campaign, which has consistently called for a political revolution to challenge the power structures that perpetuate inequality. AOC's speech served as a call to action, urging her supporters not to become complacent, but to remain engaged and demand bold reforms. The broader political context, progressive versus establishment Democrats. AOC's speech came at a time when the Democratic Party is facing significant internal divisions. On one hand, there is a strong progressive wing, represented by AOC, Bernie Sanders, and others, which is pushing for sweeping changes to the political and economic system. On the other hand, there is a more moderate wing of the party, which advocates for incremental reforms and is often more cautious in its approach. AOC's remarks highlighted the growing tension between these factions. She called on Democrats to reject the complacency of the establishment and embrace a more progressive vision for the future. This tension within the party has been a key feature of recent political debates, as progressive activists have increasingly voiced their frustration with the Democratic leadership's reluctance to adopt more radical policies. Conclusion: AOC's vision for the future. AOC's remarks at the Arizona rally were a powerful statement about the need for systemic change in the United States. Through her critique of oligarchy, the Democratic Party, and corporate power, she made it clear that the fight for economic and social justice is far from over. Her personal connection to the issues, her advocacy for the Green New Deal, and her call for bold action resonated with many in the audience, reaffirming her status as one of the most influential progressive voices in U.S. politics. In the coming years, AOC's influence within the Democratic Party and the broader progressive movement is likely to continue growing. Her call for bold, transformative change offers a stark contrast to the incrementalism of the political establishment, and it remains to be seen how her vision will shape the future of American politics.